Welcome to the Beginner's Guide for Empire at War Expanded Fall of the Republic. In this video, we're going to cover the basics of what you need to know to get started in this mod which converts Empire at War to the Clone Wars period. This guide is for the 1.2 release, so if you're watching from a future release, most of this should all still be applicable, but if not, a card should come up in the top corner of the screen with an updated version of the guide. We're going to start with some of the options available in Galactic Conquest. There are three primary categories: progressive maps, which cover the whole galaxy and all years of the Clone Wars, historical campaigns, which focus on a particular theater or event, and from the ground up, which starts you with a single planet. While many players do try from the ground up first because there's only one planet to worry about, it's actually a much more challenging mode than other campaigns, so I would recommend starting on a smaller historical map to learn the ropes, like the Foros campaign or Operation Dirge's Lance. The progressive maps are more or less the main campaigns of the mod and include the primary content. When playing a progressive map, you can start by setting the era you would like to start in. Eras, while they technically take the place of tech levels, are not your typical RTS tech level. You will unlock different units and heroes as the era progresses, but each one primarily represents a year of the Clone Wars. Every 30 weeks, the era will progress in the progressive maps, opening and closing new doors for tech, events, and heroes. If you change the starting era before you start, the makeup of the galactic forces will change appropriately to reflect the state of the war at that time, beyond just which units are available, so for repeat playthroughs, give different era starts a try. Era 1 is pre-Clone Wars and is only accessible in the From the Ground Up game mode, giving an option for a mode that has a much more limited selection of specific unit types. Unlike the progressive maps, From the Ground Up does not progress in era as time goes on. Once you're in-game, there's a few places to focus. The text at the top left side of the screen will have any relevant story speeches, but will also have a ticker of important events, resource information, and more. Pay attention to this, as this will tell you basically everything you need to know. There are additionally several in-game guides which you can access at the left side of the screen, and which we'll touch on several times throughout this guide. If you're ever looking for a specific breakdown of a feature or an element of the mod, then you can look there and the answer is probably in there. For now, we'll just mention the second from the top, the story guide. This guide has a list of all missions and research options for both playable factions, along with which eras they become available and what they specifically do. Next, we'll talk about the basics of your economy. Your economy includes credits, ship crews, and resources. Credits are gained from the base value on each planet, which you can see by hovering over the planet's name. This can then be increased by three primary structures: tax agencies and mining facilities on the ground, and trade ports in space. Tax agencies will double a planet's base income number, so build them on planets with high income. They will also reduce planetary influence by 2, which we'll get to in a moment. Mining facilities will provide a flat amount of credits each week, but are only on certain planets, which will be indicated by an icon under the world. Trade ports built in the Space Structures tab will give 50 credits per week per connected friendly world, so build them on planets with multiple connections out. Certain planets will have a white credit icon under them, indicating that they are a trade hub and will make double the credits off of trade port connections. For your space defenses or space stations, there are a few different types and categories that are available. Every planet is able to have one type of each category. Your standard starbase is marked by a shield pip on its icon. Beyond that, you can have one additional defensive structure and an economic structure, as well as a construction structure, your shipyard. If you build a second structure of the same type on the same planet, it will replace the previous one. The category a structure belongs to is listed under its name on its info card. Ship crews are a second resource which is used to build ships. If you don't have enough ship crews and credits to build a ship, you will not be able to recruit it. The amount of crews you have and are making per week is shown at the top left of the screen under the credit numbers. You can increase your crew training with the Naval Academy structure, which has a red circular icon, or with special cloning facilities on certain worlds. Finally, there are the food and part resources. These are similarly displayed at the top left of the screen. They do not pile up over turns, instead you have one value you make per turn, a positive or a negative number. If it becomes negative for either resource, build times and speeds will slow down significantly. Building more structures will generally cost you resources. Taking planets will sometimes either cost or give you extra resources of either type, indicated under the planet as well. And your primary way of getting more food or parts is by constructing additional farms or parts factories, both marked with green or blue icons on the ground build bar. This may all seem a little bit daunting at first, but you just need to keep those numbers above 0. It's quite simple once you've seen it in action. Each faction in Fall of the Republic also has a few main mechanics core to how they operate, and which gives them each their own flavor, called government mechanics. For the CIS, this is related to their member corporations. The CIS has up to 4 allied factions on the map: the Techno Union, Trade Federation, Banking Clan, and Commerce Guild. They will defend their own worlds, build up their own forces, and occasionally expand, and you can freely pass through their territory to attack other Republic worlds beyond them, though if you do drop a ship directly on their worlds, it will initiate a fight. Each faction has an opinion of you out of 100, which you can see by checking the government overview button on the left. Doing missions you are assigned by that faction throughout the game, or purchasing influence from the political options menu, will increase your influence with them. As you increase influence, their planets will join you one by one, giving you the planet itself and any units they have there. Once you hit 100 influence, you will get any remaining planets and units, as well as sometimes unlock extra bonuses depending on the faction. These can be powerful units or heroes, all of which is covered in the government overview window. For the Republic, there are 3 primary mechanics. The first is that there are, in earlier eras, some Republic-aligned sector forces on the map. This is a faction marked by a deeper red color, and like the CIS factions, is indicated by the main Republic icon below their planet. You can't pass through their planets like the CIS can with the Subfactions, but upon the first era change after starting, all of their planets and forces who have not fallen to the CIS will join your forces in war effort. The second mechanic focuses on the Senate and Senate approval. You can increase the Senate's approval by completing random Senate missions when given them, or by taking over planets. When you hit 100 Senate influence, you will be given the choice between siding with Palpatine to execute Order 66 and institute the Empire, or side with Mon Mothma, execute Order 65 with the delegation of 2000, and save the Jedi, putting Palpatine out of power. Each side has a few of its own unique heroes and units, impacting how you'll play moving forward. The third ties into another major topic: heroes. Heroes are powerful units in the mod, but there's a catch. When they die, they are gone for good. Some heroes give economic bonuses on the Galactic map, some heroes are powerful combatants on their own, and some heroes also have command tiers which will buff the units in battle with them. One of the guides on the left side of the screen has a complete breakdown of all hero bonuses and traits for those interested in learning more in-depth stats. But usually the names of them should give you a reasonable idea of what they do. Some of your Jedi heroes, when they're in ground battles, will make it so any clones brought into the battle after them will have a unique Legion skin. For the Republic side, the Government tab will display your current command staff. These are 4 of your heroes that you're able to hire and fire at will from a large pool of options, allowing you to replace dead ones or simply shake up what you have available. To fire a hero and make room on the staff, select the planet that they're currently on and go to the Political Options tab on the build bar. An option will be there to remove them. To recruit another, simply build them using the same menu when a slot is open. For the CIS, while they have fewer overall options, they do have a few dastardly villains who are able to escape the clutches of death. General Grievous can be upgraded through 3 tiers of flagships, from a Munificent-class frigate up to the Subjugator Malevolence. If he dies, he will downgrade to the next tier down, but he can always be upgraded back again. If he dies while in command of the lowest tier ship, the Munificent, he's gone for good. Other characters like Trench and Dirge have similar but unique takes on respawning as well. You'll notice throughout the game that some planets have unique structures like corporations, cloning facilities, and more. These all provide unique effects and bonuses, so get into the habit of checking your build bars regularly. Certain planets also have unique units that are available when you reach 10 influence on them. For example, having high influence on Mandalore will allow you to recruit certain Mandalorian units. Influence is a stat of each planet that varies based on a few different factors. For example, which structure types you have. Some structures will give or take influence, so make sure to check the effects of buildings when you're building them. If your planets have their influence lowered too much because you've decided to tax them too much or build too many labor camps, the population will begin to feel a bit rebellious and can even overthrow your rule to join your enemy. A full breakdown of what gives or takes influence and other side effects of it can be found in the influence guide on the left side of the screen. It will also tell you there which planets have unique recruitable options. Next up, we'll get to some of the tactical elements of the mod, starting with space. Each unit has its own unique strengths and weaknesses, though it's not quite as simple as this unit beats this specific other unit. Instead, different types of weapons or armor will make them good or bad against different things. In general, light weaponry will mean something is good against smaller targets, heavier weaponry is good against larger targets, and so on. Ion cannons are only good against shields. Physical munitions like bombs and rockets will also be better against units with capital or super shields and armor, but worse against smaller units. The unit's info cards or tooltips will tell you exactly what a unit is outfitted with, its health values, and a lot of other relevant information like how many fighters or bombers a ship may have. Some units will have extra abilities or capabilities, similarly listed in their tooltips. For example, some units have interdiction mines which can be deployed to prevent the enemy from retreating. Some units have passive point defense which will shoot down enemy bombs or missiles. Some units are able to retreat from a battle on their own as long as they have their engines up. And one class of unit, fleet tenders, which are also where your interdiction mine carriers come from, have the ability to heal units in a range around them, which is particularly useful when trying to use fleets of a lot of smaller units. Using all this information, you can craft a large diversity of viable fleets and strategies. While you can definitely get away with specializing different fleets, you want to make sure you have your bases covered and know what you're going up against. There will be other videos in the next little while going over the specific unit types available to each faction and how they can be best used. But for now, those are the basics of how everything works. If you would like to check out the stats or test different ships against each other in a more relaxed setting, from the main menu you can also access the Instant Action Game Mode from the Game Modes and Historical Battles button, which lets you spawn in any amount of ships for both factions. There are also two game modes accessible through the Skirmish Special Game Modes menu, Ground War and Space Supremacy, which are built around the idea of being able to build massive amounts of units to assault a base or superstar destroyer for some over-the-top action, though these are primarily built for multiplayer and the AI isn't quite as good at them. One final element of space battles is persistent damage on superships, specifically the Republic Mandator and Mandator II class. If these ships take damage that bring them below 90% of their maximum health in a battle, that damage will carry over into the next battle. Each week on the Galactic level, the unit will repair 10% of its health for 5% of its original cost. It will do this automatically, so you don't need to do anything special to make it happen. This means that you can't just slam your super ship into fleets battle after battle, and the CIS can raid to whittle Mandators down. To see how damaged a supership is, you can check the Galactic stat log, which is one of the guides on the left side of the screen, and which also displays information including how many planets are owned by, percentage of the galactic military belonging to, and the income of every faction on the map, letting you know exactly where you stand in your campaign. Aside from having big impacts on tactical battles, ground-to-space weapons, like the Ion Cannon for the CIS and Hypervelocity Gun for the Republic, are able to destroy one unit each week on the galactic map when planets with them are blockaded, so be careful which enemy worlds you choose to sit over. The first week that changes while you have a blockade in action will not count towards this, so you don't have to worry about getting to a planet right at the end of the week and immediately losing a ship. Finally, this brings us to ground. While we have made a ton of changes to ground battle balancing and maps to help them flow better, particularly for new players, there are a few mechanics to be aware of. First are victory points. These are alternative victory conditions to take over a planet beyond just killing everything. They are marked with a V icon on the minimap and will show up in your tactical objective list when they're active. By capturing this point, you will instantly win the battle, but beware of these points when you're on defense as well. Secondly, there's additional reasons to capture different landing zones, whether you're on offense or defense, or at least to deny them from the enemy. Each landing zone has a build pad which can be used to construct a field base, of which each faction has several types, and which spawns additional forces for its owner, allowing far greater map control and flexibility in battles depending on what you need. Finally, while bombing runs and orbital bombardments can be very helpful in swinging a battle, there are some structures which prevent them until they are destroyed. Planetary shield structures will prevent both bombing runs and bombardments across the entire map, and ground-to-space weapons will prevent capital ships from getting close enough for an orbital bombardment, while bombing runs can still get through. Conversely, a properly positioned anti-air turret from the enemy can completely shred a bombing run before it gets in range, so be careful how you use these powerful tools. They can be incredibly effective, but they do require some planning and forethought. Once you have a handle on the mechanics and tactics of the mod, there's another option you can explore if you want to face bigger fleets and larger challenges: Cruel AI. This is activated by pressing the button with that same label at the left side of the screen, and you can see if it's on or not by the name of your difficulty level in the text on the top left. This basically turns the AI to a second set of difficulty and behavior modifiers, but be warned, it cannot be deactivated after being turned on, though we do want to change that in the future. This will also enable the AI to use certain starting forces which would otherwise only be passive defensive units on major worlds. Hopefully this overview helps you on your way to liberating the galaxy as whomever you choose. A similar guide will be made for Thrawn's Revenge once 3.2 comes out for it, and there will be additional more focused guides in the future as well, like the ones I mentioned before about the CIS and Republic rosters. So subscribe to this channel if you're interested in that, or playthroughs showing off future versions as they're developed. If you'd like further help or discussion of strategy and tips, the community Discord server is linked in the description as well. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoy the mod.